Hello and welcome. We're very excited to have everyone here with us today. You'll see we have a full house filled with our colleagues at NAV Canada. We're going to give it a few minutes for folks to start coming into the room here, but we're very excited for our special webinar. It is focused on everything from hearing about the commercial activity, coming back and returning, and what that means for general aviation, for learning about aeronautical publications with NAV Canada and their plans for moving that more towards an electronic path, as well as navigating the CFPS tool. Many of you use the Aviation Weather Web Site that NAV Canada has and are maybe curious about CFPS or have questions about it. So this is an opportunity to learn more on it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start my slides here just to, again, walk you through what that may look like. So welcome to everyone for being here, spending a little bit of time with us. We will take about an hour and a half out of your day. And it is on these topics here. So welcome, bienvenue. These are the topic areas. So again, for anyone who is new to the room, we are covering a return to busier skies, covering the electronic aeronautical publications, specifically CFS, as well as NAV Canada's collaborative flight planning services tool. In the room, you will see many folks, including myself. If you haven't met me before, Sharon Chung, I am the Director of National Programming here at COPA. It is a pleasure to be with you here today. I also have Christine Gervais, our President and CEO. There's Heather McGonagall, who is the Assistant Vice President of Stakeholder Relations and Communications at NAV Canada. And we have Janelle Denton, who is the Manager of Commercial Relations at NAV Canada. Lisa Johnston, who is the Manager of Customer Stakeholder Services, and Peter Seeby, who's the Product Requirements and Integration Specialist at NAV Canada. Somewhere out in the ether, we also have a few other folks from NAV Canada who are on standby should there be any questions that relate in particular to some operational questions or around CFPS. We have Matt Mahoney, who would answer questions towards CFPS with Peter Seeby, as well as Chris Stevens, who would jump in on any conversations around the return to busier skies as well. And that is it from us. So with that, I welcome Christine Gervais to now join on, provide a opening. We will have Q&A between all the different presentations. So use that chat button to tell us where you're coming from today. Here in Ottawa, where most of the speakers are, we're coming from a little bit of flurries overnight. And so please do introduce yourself, ask your questions. There will be time for that as much as possible. We'll try to cover that. Okay, I'm going to go off camera now and turn off my presentation. Go ahead, Christine.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharon. So good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us in Canada. I see that we have a good number of attendees right now. We're at close to 450, and the number keeps going up. So thank you all for joining us and for spending part of your Saturday with us. Also, a big thank you to our special speakers for today from NAV Canada for also spending this time with us today. For those of you who might be wondering, yes, we are recording this webinar and we will be posting it on our website. So if you miss anything, don't worry, you'll be able to view it again. If you don't want to take notes and just want to listen, then please do that. Because if you are a member, you will be able to see this webinar again. It'll be posted on our members only section of our website. So without further ado, I guess I will hand the reins over to our first speaker, Heather McGonagall, who will be talking about a return to busier skies. Heather, if you wanted to just give us a brief introduction of your role and how long you've been with NAV Canada, and then we can go and talk about what it's going to look like once the commercial traffic returns to the skies in Canada.
Thanks very much, Christine. Hello, everyone. My name is Heather McGonagall. I'm the Assistant Vice President of Stakeholder Relations and Communications for NAV Canada. I've been with the organization for just over a year. I joined in January of last year, just as the pandemic was starting. So it's been not an exciting year, a challenging year, but I could not be more privileged to work with such an exceptional group at NAV Canada and have amazing stakeholders such as COPA and your membership that we get to interact with on a daily basis, more than we might have been able to interact with in the past. I hope that wherever you are joining from today, that you're well and that you're safe. I understand that attendees on the webinar are widespread across the country, and I hope that the weather is as beautiful where you are as it is here. It's a little bit cold here, but it's still perfect flying weather. It's been over a year since the pandemic reached Canada, disrupting both our personal and professional lives. Its impacts remain widely seen and felt, and I'm sure each of us could talk for days about our journey through the pandemic. While there's most definitely negativity surrounding COVID, there's also been some unexpected silver linings. With a reduction of medium and heavy IFR traffic, the skies have opened to more convenient routings for light VFR traffic. NAV Canada has been pleased to have the opportunity to further engage with GA pilots in airspace where they were not previously active. As we look to traffic recovery, access to certain areas of airspace for GA pilots may be limited, similar to pre-COVID times, to reflect airspace capacity and mix of air traffic. Potential restrictions may be in line with what was previously notable in areas with high IFR density traffic. So tactically, based on the capacity of the system, some delays or restrictions could be implemented via methods such as NOTAMs. To ensure a streamlined transition when traffic does return, we recommend that GA pilots review the CFS, VTAs, and VNCs for continued safe and efficient operations. As our industry navigates toward recovery, NAV Canada recognizes the importance of collaboration with all stakeholders and truly values our strong relationship with the Canadian Owners and Pilots Associations and its membership. We're focused on sustainability and ensuring that we are prepared for the future and positioned to continue to provide value for all stakeholders on a long-term basis. We are most appreciative for the opportunity to provide updates on NAV Canada's weather tools and Aeropubs to the COPA community, which my colleagues will provide to you shortly. Thanks very much, Christine. I'm not sure if you want to answer questions now or afterwards. I'll leave it in your very capable hands.
Thank you very much, Heather. So I encourage anyone who has a question to use the chat function, and you can send your questions for any of our speakers. If you could just specify the topic of the question, of the subject that that you're asking the question for, that would be quite helpful. We had previously sent an email to our members to see if they had any questions that we could ask you, and I do have a few that have come from our membership. So the first one would be, do you have a specific example of restrictions returning when commercial activity recovers? And then sorry, it's a two-part question. The second part is, where and to what degree?
This would be in line with what was previously notable in areas with high IFR traffic density. So again, I touched on before, based on the capacity of the system, there might be some delays or restrictions that could be implemented, again, through the use of NOTAMs or similar. If you'd like more specifics, if I could maybe ask on my colleague, Chris Stevens, to maybe answer further, would that be okay with you, Christine?
Absolutely, yes. Welcome, Chris Stevens, which I believe is the manager of Toronto Terminal?
He's a national manager of air traffic flow management at NAV Canada.
Okay, if I could just ask Chris to, oh, he did it. So I'm going to go ahead and let you on stage, Chris. One moment here.
Doesn't seem to be, oh, here we go.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, there we go. I jumped through a couple things to get online, so you can hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks, Heather and Christine. As Heather said, I'm the National Manager for Air Traffic Flow Management, but Christine certainly previously the Manager for Toronto Tower Terminal, TMU. 30 years in the business here, all in operations. Most of it in Ontario region, having worked in numerous sites, North Bay, Buttonville, Oshawa, and certainly very familiar with the COPA operations, and happy to be a part of this. The question there, I guess, was surrounding about restrictions. Yeah, as we see recovery, it's going to be in the same, or in areas obviously where we had possibly constraints in the past because of IFR traffic or whatever the volumes there. So I don't think we'll see any significant changes from that, but we, through recovery, the methodologies that we've used to get information out, such as the NOTAMs, and I think somebody was asking about specific examples, maybe Class C, if there's restrictions there in specific airspaces. So it's important to obviously to check NOTAMs to see what the specific details of those restrictions would be, and where they're going to happen. I mean, it's obviously it's dynamic, and the recovery is going to be quicker in some areas, domestically than international. Pearson will probably be one of the latest from our indications to recover, but certainly some areas have not seen as big a decline where they're serving the north and things like that. So again, it's hard to pinpoint where these things may or may not happen because of all the factors that impact the traffic movements.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Really do appreciate that detailed explanation. We have another question of how will a return to normal restrictions be communicated to our general aviation pilot community to ensure safety? I know that you touched a little bit on that, Heather and Chris, about verifying your NOTAMs, but did you have anything else to add to that question? I guess we can start with Heather.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to pass it over to Chris because he's our subject matter expert. Thank you very much for your effort, Christine.
We would communicate through the regular forums, such as we have ongoing right now, our area operations meetings. So at the AOCMs, those are very regional. We had suspended those last year, obviously, in just as we were responding to the pandemic and things going on there. But they're occurring right now. So those are great forums where we often have representatives from all the groups, COPA and EAA, RAA, and right through to the airlines. So those are that forum, as well as as we move from the more regional ones to the collaborative decision making forums, which typically involves the larger groups and CDM members, and then right up to our governing groups through ATOC and ANSNAC. So outside of normal outside of the normal contact that our site managers and that have with the local and specific airports, those would be the applicable forums, and again, anything specific then obviously becomes through the NOTAMs.
Okay, thank you. And for those of you who might be asking, COPA, as Chris had pointed out, is part of many of those committees. So we would be in a position to share that information should it be shared with us. So another question is, will there be any new restrictions as a result of a return to commercial activity? We know that there's been some significant changes to the air navigation services due to COVID. So with a return to a commercial activity, what would be the primary driver for any new potential limitations for our flying community? And would these changes be permanent? And I guess if they're specific to our community, I think we've already discussed the fact that they would definitely be shared with COPA, and we would let our membership know. So yeah, I guess the first part is, are there potentially new limitations that will be implemented? And if there are new ones, will they be temporary or will they be permanent?
Heather, I'll keep going with that, and then you can add. I'm sure you'll have a piece there, but I mean, there's nothing planned in terms of restrictions. So obviously, safety first, and whether that we're talking about aviation safety or the safety of our employees and their health and the well-being of them in the workplaces. You know, we're obviously a national company, so we're faced with regional as well as national guidelines. So, and what I'm getting at there is in our workplaces, we sometimes have limitations because of space. You know, some of the towers and the flight service units are very small, and if we're trying to maintain, I'll say social distancing, but distancing in the workplace as well, we may have because of national and regional guidelines, we may have restrictions in place because we can only staff X number of people where we would have wanted to have additional staff. You know, so that certainly would then cause some limitations. As we all know, the pandemic and the effects and you know, it's certainly up and down. So those restrictions are floating and change, if not daily, you know, in response to what's happening, certainly quite frequently. So hard to pinpoint exactly where that is. You know where the hot spots are, but you know, we certainly that's first and foremost, the safety of obviously the environment that our folks are working in, and the safety of the flying environment. So. There's no, and maybe Heather, I don't know if we want to touch on the broader aspects, level of service stuff, and because that falls more a little bit to you, but those would be more the longer term if there's impacts there.
Unless someone has any specific questions, I don't think level of service would apply here with the return of commercial traffic. That's its own separate process, not specific to.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Heather. So another question. Oh, whoops! I just lost my question page. Here we go. Another question would be, how could these potential restrictions, should there be any, affect our flight planning, fuel on board, time in flight, etc. If they're not NOTAM'd, how can I best prepare myself for that? These are very good questions.
Yeah, that is a very good question, and certainly that probably falls more to the piloting side. But obviously, you know, you're well aware of your environments that you're flying in, and certainly you'll see if there's no NOTAMs or you're getting information on that. Again, it really is. I would say check in with the flight information centers. Obviously pre-flight and possibly even the units if you're flying in. We don't really encourage that. We'd rather see you going through the through the FICs, or if it's applicable through a flow management through TMU East or West if you're you know, planning some training flights, that sort of thing. Yeah, outside of that, yeah, I mean, obviously the best plan you can put together based on the known information is you know, we will try to get information out in as timely manner as we can. Again, because the dynamics of the operation and you know, weather, whatever it might be, all of those factors that influence. You know, there could be times when there's last minute changes to the plan.
Okay, thanks for that. So we've had a few questions come up in our chat room. So we have D Metz from CYBW seems to have a permanent NOTAM regarding limiting services because of staffing levels. Will this get rectified?
So we're working. You know, we've obviously during the pandemic, staffing is minimized again because of the restrictions in some places. We're continuing to train. There's still pressure in the system to train. And we're also taking a lot of steps, and I think you said BW, so I think we're talking Springbank. where we just had a meeting about some of the activities there surrounding flight training and that sort of flight training units. So we're doing quite a bit of work to improve the situation so that we can improve the overall success of our training programs as well as the flight training. So I think with those works, we've seen success in how we've approached.
Oh, is it just me or did we lose Chris?
Oops, did we lose me?
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I see my screen flash there. Sorry. No, I was just saying that specifically with Springbank in mind, we've been talking and we're continuing to discuss the activities we're going to take there to improve the training for our controllers as well that are in the system being trained, as well as the flight training unit and the overall efficiency of the site, and also looking at the safety factors as well. We've done this across the country. We're taking a national approach to this. We've done it in some other places and seen success in improving our training so that we can get better staffing in place. So we continue, as I say, we suspended training in a lot of areas, but not in the towers where we've, obviously seen where we've had shortages in the past. So we continue to work to improve the staffing situations there. Okay,
thanks, Chris. Anything to add on that, Heather, or?
The only thing I would like to add is that the traffic movements for Springbank is very similar to the Calgary International. So if you can picture, and I mean this most respectfully because I am a pilot, I was a flight instructor, and we've all been learning pilots, as well. So to have around 600 movements per day in Springbank with a lot of pilots that are learning, that don't necessarily follow instructions accurately, again, not malicious, to no fault of their own, they're learning, as compared to an international airport where they have pilots that have a fair bit of experience and have been flying for quite some time. It's making it challenging for us to train our staff in Springbank, again, to nobody's fault whatsoever, but we're just trying to find a way to mitigate that because we want to make sure that we have the appropriate staffing in Springbank. We're just needing to this is a separate conversation, but traffic flow management for some of our flight training units and the airports as well on how we can maybe minimize peaks instead of, say, 10 airplanes trying to leave at 9 o'clock in the morning, just to even it out, which will support our aircraft trying to take off, but also assist our training so that our air traffic controllers that are learning on site are not as overwhelmed. Just like all of you, when you first learned how to fly, it got quite overwhelming in a congested airspace and when lots of things were happening at the same time, similar to our controllers as well, until they get more experience.
Okay, thanks for that. I'll do one more question and then we'll probably just save the other ones. We'll have a question and answer posted on our website as well for anybody else who may have had additional questions, just so we can get to the other two presentations. So this one is from David Sprague, who says, I was on a NAV Canada presentation for Toronto area the other day, and they were talking about a sign-up process for things like VFR sightseeing over Toronto and circuit reservations at towered airports. Why is capacity always being restricted for general aviation? NAV Canada seems to view general aviation as a nuisance, sort of like ants at a NAV Canada picnic. Sorry, I should have edited that. It looks like now that COVID has caused cutbacks and that is going to be used as a reason to cut even more GA services or add more restrictions for us. We understand the current situation, but are we to expect some return to normalcy with a return to normal traffic?
Heather, you or I?
Chris, you're on mute. I've done that more times than I care to even say.
Yeah, I'm clicking it. Can you hear me now?
Nope, we can't hear you.
How about now?
Nope.
No.
I can actually hear him, Christine.
Oh, Heather, only you can hear me? Can anybody else?
So that's okay. What we'll do is we'll add that to the question and answer. So we'll forward you the questions that we have that you can answer, and then we'll definitely be posting that to our website. So we'll move on now to our next topic, which is the electronic CFS. So the proposal to make these permanent. So I'm not sure who is speaking first. Would that be you, Janelle?
It is.
Okay, so Janelle Denton from NAV Canada will be starting the presentation on electronic flight supplement. Again, I ask that you use the chat function and to ask any questions that you might have to any of our topics. If we can't get to it, rest assured we will have a question and answer sheet posted along with the video of this webinar, so that we do want to get to all of your questions. So over to you, Janelle.
Thank you, Christine. Hello, everybody. I just want to start by saying thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
No, we can't hear you.
My mic's on. Can anyone
I can hear.
I can hear you.
Okay. Just
Nope, there seems to be a muting issue here. Anything you can help us with, Sharon? Oh, is it just me? Apparently it's just me. Okay.
I think it's just you.
So you go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So again, thanks, Christine, and hello, everybody. First, I wanted to say thank you for providing me with the opportunity to come and speak with you today. My name is Janelle Denton. I'm manager of commercial services, commercial relations at NAV Canada, and I've been with NAV Canada for 13 years now in the stakeholder and commercial relations team. Before I start up the presentation, I'm going to let my colleague Lisa Johnston introduce herself, because we're sharing the presentation. We both have parts in it. So Lisa, I'll let you introduce yourself while I get the presentation up.
Sounds good. Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon to others. So yes, my name is Lisa Johnston, and I'm the Manager of Customer Stakeholder Services at NAV Canada. I've been with the company for 17 years now. Very excited and proud to say that. And yes, so Janelle and I work very closely together. My department is responsible for the Customer Contact Center, as well as the sale and distribution of aeronautical publications. And so today, as it has been shared, I'm going to provide a bit of a demo to everybody today around our online store, and talk through some of the points step by step. So again, it's a pleasure to be with everybody today.
Thanks, Lisa. Sharon, I don't know if you can hear me or not, but my presentation, I can't select it. Could you bring it up for me, please? And Sharon, I can't hear you.
Oh gosh, I got caught up in it. So yes, absolutely. I'm happy to share that. And for those who are asking for, oh, I'll have to load your new presentation there. It went away for me. One moment here.
Yeah, I couldn't see it either. Thanks.
So as I'm loading that up, it may take a few moments here. So just to address that question that was it David Sprague. So thank you very much for it. I see there's a few comments in the room of wanting to hear his answer. Absolutely. We unfortunately didn't have the time for it, but we'll look to either sharing it in the chat right away or in a FAQ that will be published after this webinar. Okay, I'm seeing it is up. Janelle, does this look good to you?
It does. Thank you very much.
Okay, off to you.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about our electronic publications that we have in Aeropubs, the CFS and the Water Aerodrome Supplement. So the first slide is just an outline of the items that we're going to talk about today, our objective, why we want to move towards electronic products. I'll touch a bit on modernization because that ties in with the electronic products. Lisa had mentioned she's going to do a demo from our e-commerce store. We'll talk about other options available for publications and then the benefits of moving towards electronic. So today's objective, we want to familiarize our customers with what electronic products that we have available in our store, the Canada Flight Supplement and the Water Aerodrome Supplement. And then we're going to do a demo of how to purchase them, how to download them, and use the products from our e-commerce store. So just a little bit of background. NAV Canada took over responsibility for the production, the sales, and distribution of our aeronautical publications in 1997. And since then, there really hasn't been a lot of change in the products themselves or the pricing. So the printing and distribution of paper-based aeronautical information continues to be an ineffective method of distributing the information. So with that, we have a strategic initiative to modernize our AIM technology. And in supporting that, Stakeholder and Commercial Relations has an initiative to modernize the Aeropubs products themselves and move away from printed products. We did initiate the first phase of this project, which was successful, and we completed that in November 2020. And with that, we discontinued the paper version of the Air Canada pilot. The second phase of this is where we want to move towards the Canada Flight Supplement and the Water Aerodrome Supplement and move them from print to electronic. Now, at this time, we have no specific date for the CFS and the WAS. When we do transition away from paper, we will provide plenty of notice. Just like we did with the CAP, we will have a full communication plan. And because of the way our subscription cycles work, you will get at least a minimum of 13 months notice that we're going to discontinue print, and it'll likely be more than that because we already have, the plan for the CAP was very successful. We'll follow the same thing with that. So our intent today is to show you what's available electronically and provide you with an opportunity to familiar yourselves with the products. Just touching a bit on the AIM modernization program, because that ties into what we're doing. What it is, it's a multi-year program.
Janelle, if I could jump in, I'm hearing some, receiving a little bit of feedback on volume. If you could just speak a little louder. It sounds good to me, but I am hearing this feedback.
Okay, I can speak up. I'll move a little closer. So this slide is about AIM modernization, and what this is, it's a multi-year program to create a new generation of digital AIM publications. So benefits of this will be improved accessibility and size of the format. There'll be a reduction in duplication of information across the publication. So now you can find things in the CFS, they're also in the CAP and the CAP Gen. There'll be a reduction in NOTAM by increasing the appropriate usage of the AIP supplements and the Aeronautical Information circulars. That's definitely a benefit to everyone with less NOTAMs. And then it will also improve some efficiencies within AIM to enable them to faster turn around to incorporate changes into the publications. As you know now, there's a process. We're working on publications well in advance, so getting the changes in with a 56-day publication doesn't happen as quickly as we would like. And next, I will turn it over to Lisa, and she will go through a demo of how to purchase an electronic product. Lisa, over to you.
Thank you very much. So yes, as mentioned before, I'm going to go through a bit of a demo of our online store, just to familiarize everybody with what the online store looks like for those that haven't actually viewed it before. Sharon's going to help me out with it. She's going to help with some of the videos. So essentially what we are going to do today is we're going to talk about, actually Sharon, if you wouldn't mind pausing it just for a moment. We are going to talk about creating the account. We're going to shop for the actual item. We're going to complete the order, and then we're going to access the download. So those are the topics that I'm going to cover within my demo. Thanks, Sharon. And if you're able to start that video over, again, that would be great. So here's the first step. This first step is you're going to go to NAV Canada's corporate website, and you're going to select the Aeronautical Information tab and go to our online store. This brings us to our online store. From here, you're going to select your preferred language, so English or French. And then you're going to sign in. And this is you creating your account. So you're going to start by filling in the fields as a new customer, because anybody that's coming here for the majority will be a new customer if you haven't used the online store before. You're going to select that you are a NAV Canada customer. There are other options in there, but those are for employees or other. You would be considered a NAV Canada customer. You'd put in your email address, which is an important piece to hang on to as well, because this is information that you will use as your access information in the future. This will be your username, so you can access your account and your publications down the road. You'll create your password. And from there, we do have terms and conditions on the site. We ask that you read through those. This is a little bit fast, I recognize that. And once you've read and you've accepted the terms and conditions, you can now create your account. So now your account has been created. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to actually go shopping, and we're going to shop for our product now. Sharon, if you wouldn't mind. So now that you've created your account, you're in My Account. This is your account. You're now going to shop for electronic products, and our products, when we speak to electronic, are PDF. I don't know about everybody else. It seems like it might be paused right now. Oh, I see something's maybe starting. There we go. We're in the account. Wonderful. Yes, we're shopping for our electronic products, which, as I mentioned, are PDFs. Here we go. We're in our PDF download section. We'll click on that. And this next page is going to show you the different products that NAV Canada has in electronic PDF format. So for today, we're going to actually choose the Canadian Flight Supplement, the ECFS. If you wouldn't mind pausing now, Sharon, I just would like to speak a little bit to this page. So the ECFS, as you're familiar with the paper product itself, it's quite a large book that has the entire country listed within it. With the ECFS, we've broken it down into regions. So there's actually 7 different items under the ECFS. They're broken down ECFS 1 to 7. Oh, I think we've lost the video. But I will talk that the ECFS is broken from 1 to 7. ECFS 1 is bundled that it has the northern part of Canada. So it has Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. ECFS 2 is British Columbia. 3 is the prairies. So we've got Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. ECFS 4 is Ontario. ECFS 5 and 6 are both for the province of Quebec, but one is in English and one is en français. And the ECFS 7 is for the Atlantic region, which consists of New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, and PEI. So that is how the ECFS is broken out in the electronic format on our online store. Please note as well that the products themselves are sold only as a subscription item. They're not sold as individual. So the ECFS products are, you'll pick your effective date and you'll receive that PDF file 7 times throughout the year. So every 56 days, you'll receive, you'll see that you'll get another download in your account. Sharon, I think you can continue. I just wanted to give that distinction between the different products that we're going through here, that these are the different regions, how it's broken out. So you'll pick how many, oops, I think we lost that video again.
Sorry about that, everyone.
That's okay.
I'm having a little bit of technical issues. So what I'm going to do is I'll share my screen on this side. And let's try it again. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sharon. Okay, so we are picking our product. We're going to, I think it's just going through again the different areas. This is the quantity, and here's our effective date. So you're going to pick the effective date that you wish to start your subscription with, and here you're going to add to cart. I want 1 subscription. I'm purchasing it for myself, and I'm starting it with the April 22nd cycle. That is something important to keep in mind is choosing the right effective date. If you choose one that is in advance, if you were to choose June, for example, right now, note that the June files are not available yet. Therefore, you wouldn't have access to them. So either pick the one that we're currently in, or if you're preparing for the next cycle, you can pick it, just be aware that you won't have access until the file is ready, just as the print, you don't have the print until the print is mailed to you. I do want to take note as well here that on this page is the price of the products. The products are $16.50 each. So therefore, if you were to purchase the entire country, you would be purchasing 6 different PDF files at $16.50 each. And note that there's no shipping or handling either. The other piece here is, as I mentioned, it's a subscription that they do expire after 7 cycles, and you will receive a renewal notice from NAV Canada to renew. However, note that if it is an electronic product and if you forget to renew, you can renew very quickly and have instant access to the PDF files versus if you are ordering a paper. Obviously, it happens. Sometimes people forget to renew. It can take a little bit longer because you have to wait for it to be shipped to you. So I just wanted to highlight that as well, that if you don't renew your subscription and you forget and you have to go out and you need it, you can go on the online store. And as long as we're in the effective date, you'll have immediate access to it after you purchase. So now we've purchased our item. Sharon, I think we can play and see where we're at on this video. We've hit add to cart. So our cart is full, and the next step is we're going to complete our order. So we could go to the next slide, please, Sharon. There we go. So now we're looking at our shopping cart. This is what's in our shopping cart. We know that we've purchased the ECFS 1. We know we have 1 quantity, and we're just going to proceed to checkout. In this section, what you're doing is you're adding your shipping info. So you do need to still add shipping info, even though it is an electronic product. This account is going to be used if you wanted to purchase paper as well. So you fill out the necessary fields for your shipping. And I'll just let the video speak to that. It's putting in the province. It does say zip code, but this is obviously your postal code. And a phone number. And then after that, you're going to hit continue. And here's where you're going to choose your delivery options. And this is, you're going to verify your item, you're choosing your method. Remember that this is an electronic, so the delivery options is free. So the shipping and handling is free. There is no shipping and handling on that. Once you've chosen, you've verified your shipping, then you can select continue again, and you'll add your payment information here. Once you add your payment information, you select continue. And if we go to the next video, Sharon, we will see that you've now completed your order. Your order has been placed. And here's now we're going to access the file. So you go into your account. And at the far right, you'll see My Downloads. You'll click My Downloads, pardon me, and you will see that right here, there's the effective date. That's the end date of this cycle. And there's your product. So there is your PDF. And it'll take a few minutes, and the PDF will upload. Normally, they're there 10 days prior to the effective date. And as I was saying earlier, the ECFSs, they're bundled up together in regions. So within this one, this is the ECFS 1, and we've got Yukon, Northwest Territories, and Nunavut. As well, every ECFS has the ECFS changes, the general pages, are added to each of the documents. And there's I just wanted to show you on the with the bookmarks that you can get access to all of them. From there, I've also done a Control F because I'm looking for, in this example, it was Iqaluit. So if you want to search for an aerodrome, a specific aerodrome, that's what you would do. You'd hit Control F on your keyboard. If you're using your iPhone or your tablet, you're going to use the magnifier glass, and you would type in the aerodrome that you're interested in, and then it would pop up. From there, you can either print the pages that you want for that aerodrome. You can do that multiple times for the different aerodromes that you're required. You can print the different pages, or you can also select a series. So you can hit custom. There's an icon. Unfortunately, I don't have it in here that says custom and you put the actual page range that you would like, and you can print those pages, or you can save them, and you can save different aerodromes to maybe your desktop or to the main page of your tablet, so you have easy access to just the aerodromes that you require for your flight planning. I also wanted to highlight the fact that we've also provided, Christine, sample copies of the ECFS. It isn't expired, so please note that they are not for navigational purposes. They are watermarked with the word sample on them, and they are an expired version. But they do have 1 to 7, all regions, so that you can, get a bit of an idea and familiarize yourself with the product itself and see what it's like to download it, to maybe find the aerodromes that you're interested in, to print from it. So that gives you a bit of an idea. And as I said, you can print the pages and you can have them with you, because if that's something that you would like to have as a backup or your primary, and you could have your tablet or your device as well to have it. So that's a bit of a demo on the store. I'm glad to hear that that COPA will also have this video available if anybody wants to go through the steps again. And I hope it was valuable. Over to you, Janelle.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm just going to bring up my presentation again. Okay. So in addition to the electronic products that NAV Canada has available on our e-commerce store, we also provide aeronautical data to third parties, and they create their own products and applications. So this is just a list of some of the things that are available to you. So as we just went through the electronic products, ForeFlight Mobile is available, Flight Plan Go, Jeppesen, and then we also have Nav Blue and Lido, and they're probably more geared towards commercial. But they do have NAV Canada data available in their products. We did a survey of the COPA membership a few years ago, I believe it was 2018 or 2017, and saw that the majority of you are using either ForeFlight Mobile, Flight Plan Go, and some of you are using the Jeppesen. So we just wanted to make you aware that those are available as well if you prefer not to use our electronic products. And just a recap of some of the benefits of moving towards electronic. So customer service, as Lisa just showed you, timeliness of getting your product. If it's in the current cycle, you're going to have it available immediately. So there's a lot of efficiencies. If there were to be a print error, we would be able to disseminate the changes a lot quicker because we wouldn't have to go through that whole print process. There's improved distribution, and then it's also less expensive for our customers, as the electronic products are 20% less than paper. And then where it will get us to eventually is tying back to that AIM modernization, is data-driven products. So there's agility and ease of access, and hopefully this will get us to a 28-day cycle where changes will happen much quicker within the publications, supporting fewer NOTAMs. And that's the end of my presentation. So thank you very much. And Sharon or Christine, back to you to see if there's any questions for Lisa and I.
Thank you so much, Lisa and Janelle, for that great presentation. I was having technical difficulties, but it seems to be okay. Everybody can hear me? Okay, great. All right, so we do have quite a few questions. I'm going to start with the ones that were submitted ahead of the seminar. So are electronic publications currently available to recreational pilots?
So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody can purchase the publications from our e-commerce store.
Okay, great. Were there any changes in price between print and now electronic?
Yes, so the electronic on our e-commerce store are 20% less than paper.
Excellent.
And there's also no shipping and handling, so you're saving in that area as well.
Okay, and again, I just wanted to reiterate, I know that Janelle and Lisa mentioned it in their presentations, but we will have samples of what ECFS looks like. They are available now on our website. They're samples only, they're expired, and they're not to be used for navigation, however. So can you download the purchase publications on multiple devices, such as a tablet or a home computer?
Yes, you can. So when you purchase one, it's a per user purchase. However, once you have that PDF, you can put it on your desktop, you could put it on your phone, you could put it on your device, you could put it on multiple.
Excellent, thank you. And so for those who don't fly with a tablet, how do they access the electronic CFS for flight planning and in-flight?
Okay, so like Lisa mentioned during her demo, you can print your own. So you could print the whole document if you wanted. It's a lot of pages, but if you have your routes planned, you can select the pages that you need and print those in advance and have them with you.
Okay. Was there any consideration given to being able to, I realize that, so from personal experience, I do know that the reason why the CFS is needed some changes was because it was becoming too large and it was unable you wouldn't be able to bind it. Was there any thought ever given to perhaps dividing it by regions and selling the paper version by regions to our to your customers?
We have given that some consideration, and like you, I'm glad you mentioned that, Christine. There is a possible issue with binding. Right now we're still good, but as pages increase, it is a risk that we have, and one of the reasons why we do want to move towards electronic because of that whole binding process. So we did consider by region, like dividing the country in half, but and this was many years ago when we talked to COPA and the membership at that time, and the suggestion also was to divide it similar to the way that we do the caps. So if you are flying IFR, you can buy your CFS and your cap and have them both together. So it's something that we could consider in the future, possibly if, and we are looking at if binding becomes an issue.
Okay, thanks. Going from print to digital only may create issues for our pilot community. Some of our pilots fly using electronics while keeping a print copy as backup for problems related to battery failure, etc. Does NAV Canada have a solution for this if print is completely removed?
So like we said, you can print the pages of the electronic CFS.
Okay. As it relates to, I know that there isn't a planned date right now for a complete paperless CFS, but how will that be communicated to the general aviation community, and how will NAV Canada support the transition to those who rely on print?
So we will have a fully robust communication plan, and actually it'll be more robust than we did with the caps, because now we have this opportunity to actually speak with you face to face. So we can certainly plan another joining you again here at COPA and letting you know in advance. And then we'll also follow the same, like we had an AIC, we had notices on our corporate website. All of our orders had flyers within them reminding customers that we were moving towards electronic with the cap. Our e-commerce store had information. Lisa, feel free to jump in if I'm missing anything. We sent out letters to all the flight schools in advance. We sent letters to our commercial carriers. We had meetings with COPA and ATAC, so we will do all that same thing. And if there's any other suggestions that you have as far as getting the information out, we certainly welcome that.
Okay, thank you. I do. So I'm just going to go to the chat room now. Those were all of the questions that were asked ahead of time. So we do have a few minutes, and we've got about 4 minutes before we have to move on to the next presenters. So Danielle Boulet is asking, are we billed every 56 days or is it an annual fee?
It's an annual fee per subscription. So if you buy a subscription for the CFS, for example, at $16.50 for one region, that's an annual fee. That's all you're paying for that one product.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yep. Paul, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce the name properly, but Paul Ciro, very awkward trying to use a tablet in the relatively small space available in a typical GA airplane. Could also be unreadable in sunlight. Has this been considered?
Well, I'm just trying to think now, like you're using your tablet if you're using the ForeFlight app, correct?
Some are, but not everybody is.
Okay. Then I mean, you can always go back to where you can print the pages that you need. And one of the things, I don't know if sunlight's an issue, but one of the things we did with the cap was remove some of the red ink because we knew that that was a possible issue with being able to view in the cockpit. So same thing with the CFS in order to help with that. But I would suggest if you don't have room for a tablet, then printing the pages would probably be the best option.
Okay, thanks. Alex Felso, Jim's comment, I think tabs on a paper copy is much faster when accessing pages done as part of pre-flight planning. Agreed, need the ability to tab the relevant pages. So in the electronic version, will this be a possibility?
Like Lisa said, you can bookmark your pages and you could select, you know, the ones that you want. Lisa, were you going to add to that?
No, I was just going to say exactly that. You can bookmark, you can save just the pages that you need, rather than having even the full region. You could have the full region on your device, but you could also then pick just those areas or those aerodromes that you require and create almost smaller documents on your tablet so that you just have what you need. Rather than the full region and having to go through that. And then also you could print those pages too.
Okay, thanks. I have a couple of questions that refers to where these will be available. It was mentioned that ForeFlight was going to be one of the platforms where ECFS would be available. Will this come with the subscription, or will there be additional costs to the user on top of the ForeFlight subscription?
So ForeFlight sets their own prices. We'll say that. We don't stipulate that. We provide them the data. However, they do have the CFS now. I believe that it is part of their platform. It is available to them. And I think they actually have like the pages in there that you can actually view.
Yep, they do.
So if you're purchasing from NAV Canada's online store, you're purchasing the PDF that we make available. If you're purchasing from one of the other providers, you're purchasing what they're providing. So if you're purchasing from NAV Canada, it's not transferable over to the other vendors.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. You had mentioned several vendors, and one person had asked, which wasn't part of the list, is the Garmin application part of those vendors?
So I should have clarified that. Garmin is also one of our vendors, but Garmin actually bought Flight Plan Go. So I had it as the same one, but yes, they are the same company now. I believe their products are still separate though.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So I'm not sure if this is a comment or a question. I'm going to read it as it's coming in. I was very disappointed to read in COPA Flight last fall that the CFS paper version will be discontinued. In the article, it noted that approximately half of all pilots were still using the paper version. I've never had an iPad, computer, or smartphone that hasn't had a software crash or a battery crash due to cold or overheating or being unreadable in bright sun in certain circumstances. My friend has had to put a charging system in his RV6 specifically for his iPad for the electronic CFS. Last summer, he had to take it out of his plane and carry it around while he had lunch so it wouldn't overheat in the plane. In my over 30 years of flying, oddly enough, I've never had my paper version crash, overheat, or be unreadable. It is instantly there when I need it, especially in an emergency. I can't think of anything worse than an electronic version of it. I think that you've probably already answered that in the sense that if you are not comfortable of just having the electronic version on you, you do have the possibility of printing the pages that you want to print and carry those with you. Did you have anything to add to that, Janelle?
No, you're correct. So like we keep saying you can print it, the electronic, but I do want to say that we are listening, and we do understand that there will be, some that prefer paper, and that's why we're allowing the print of the electronic. But I do want to say that we are listening, and all your feedback is really appreciated, and we'll take it into consideration. And that's why we also want to ensure that we provide plenty of time to allow for people to transition away from paper.
Okay, thanks. We have one from Greg Spottiswood, who is asking about some people may have bandwidth issues depending on the region where they live. How much bandwidth would be required, and what is the approximate download time for these electronic CFS?
It's a good question. I wasn't expecting anything technical. I think it really depends. I know here in Ottawa, it doesn't take that long to download it. When you test it from the COPA website, hopefully that will give you a kind of an indication. But the good thing about it is that you'll get your publication date well in advance. It's available, I believe, at least 10 days in advance of the cycle. So you can have it downloaded and saved on your tablet or your desktop in advance of when you actually need it for flight.
Okay, thanks. We have Sue Ramsey just downloaded CapGen English separate from the rest, but to get CapGen General had to download the whole Cap 6 from the province of Quebec. How come?
I don't think I understand the question. Do you mean you had to download the whole CFS to get the CFS Gen?
I think this is a CapGen, and to get the CapGen in English separate from the rest. So they wanted to just get the CapGen in English, but they had to download Cap 6 in order to get the CapGen. So I guess the question would be, can they just download the CapGen? Or does it have to?
Yes, they can get the CapGen through the online store.
Okay,
not the CFS Gen. The CFS, like the general pages for the CFS, are included in the CFS themselves, but the CapGens are available as a separate item on the online store.
Okay, thank you. Let's see here. Do they have to sign up for a full subscription, or can you pay per issue?
For the eCFS, it is a subscription only per CFS. So if you want the eCFS 1, it's one subscription for that one. You don't have to buy all 7 or all 6, but it's one per product.
Okay, and how long is the subscription for? For 1 full year?
It is for 1 full year. It's about 13 months because it runs on the 56-day cycle, and a subscription. The definition of the subscription for these products is that you will receive it 7 times. So every 56 days, in total, 7 different, if you will, volumes.
Okay. So as as an add-on to that question, you say that you can subscribe to just one area, say BC. What if you need to make a trip to Alberta one time? Do you have to buy a full subscription for a full year to Alberta for one flight?
Yes, you do. You would have to buy because they aren't sold as just a single copy of the eCFS.
Could there be a plan to buy a single copy?
It is something we can talk about. But at this point in time, I can say that it isn't available as one single copy. It's only available as a subscription. But as everything, we can always take the feedback.
Yeah, just because as a pilot myself, as a GA pilot myself, and I've hopefully just completed the purchase of my first aircraft. You know, I do want to be able to take it to different regions, but there are certain regions that I may only go once to, and I don't necessarily need the full package for the you know, for the full year. So I think that this raises a good point that perhaps maybe NAV Canada should consider selling on a 56 cycle basis instead of a yearly subscription for those reasons. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, as it's been raised in this forum as well. So Claire McEwen, for an electronic CFS. Oh, nope, that's it. Same question here. Michael Stoddart, Transport Canada requires students to bring current paper copies to exams. Will flight schools have to pay their full subscriptions to all of the regions and print the copies in order for students to carry paper copies on board the aircraft? Or are you discussing with Transport Canada the ability to have a copy in an electronic flight bag?
So it's a different department at NAV Canada, but there is discussion with transport when it comes to making some changes to how the exams are done. So yes, those discussions are happening, and that's what
okay.
we would like for the change to be to reference electronic or paper.
Okay. Okay, there's quite a few more questions coming in, and we do have a whole other presentation to go through. So we thank everybody for submitting your questions. We have taken note of them, and we will be sending them to NAV Canada to ensure that they are answered. So rest assured, you will get the answers to your questions, and we'll let our members know once they're posted on our website. I just wanted to circle back after I lost my after I lost my ability to hear anyone speak, and just wanted to be able to get Chris Stevens back on to answer David Sprague's question about the restrictions. I see Sharon has left the room, and I'm presuming that was to make room for Chris Stevens to come on board. So we'll just wait a little bit for Chris Stevens to come on board. In the meantime, here he is. There we go. I was going to say, in the meantime, we can answer another question, but here's Chris. So did you want me to repeat the question? I'm sorry. I guess I'm the only one who lost the audio here, and I couldn't hear anybody, so it took a while for me to come back. Did you want me to repeat the question, or do you remember what the question
was? Sure, go ahead. And that'll refresh it for everybody, and then, yeah, I certainly answer.
Okay, perfect. So the question came from David Sprague, who says, I was on a NAV Canada presentation for the Toronto area the other day, and they were talking about a sign-up process for things like VFR sightseeing over Toronto and circuit reservations at towered airports. Why is capacity always being restricted for general aviation? NAV Canada seems to view general aviation as a nuisance. It looks like now that COVID has caused cutbacks, and that is going to be used as a reason to cut even more GA services or add more restrictions for us. We understand the current situation, but can we expect some return to normalcy?
Sure. Okay, great. Thanks. And yeah, thanks for letting me come back on. It's a very important question, and it speaks to some initiatives that we're taking across the country. So, and we certainly, NAV Canada certainly recognizes the importance of general aviation. You know, it's the grassroots, and you know, whether that includes VFR flights or, you know, to and from, and especially flight training and flight training activities. So, and certainly our attention's been turned to this. And as Heather said, you know, there's a bit of a silver lining has come out of COVID, and that's you know, been a significant increase in general aviation traffic. You know, a lot of it in part because, you know, obviously folks are able to fly whenever they can. That's the nice thing about general aviation, but also due to, you know, an abundance of available flight instructors. You know, compared to the past. So obviously lots of commercial pilots who are not flying are out doing training. What we've seen and experienced at some of the VFR towers across the country is we've seen traffic increases of over 300% from previous years. And really what we've had to do is stop and look, and based on safety data, based on everything that we have available to us, looking at traffic, and it's much exceeding what might be the capacity of an airport or an airspace, and certainly the capabilities of the staff in some cases. That obviously then causes us concern for safety. We've looked at a lot of the safety statistics, and we're working now. We've engaged TC and a number of stakeholders to look at this on a case-by-case basis. Nationally, what we're doing is, in order to provide some predictability, we are looking to introduce some reservation system in areas of high density air traffic and high demand. Whether it's an airport or an airspace. It's much like we've done in the past for IFR training slots, certainly in the Toronto area and Vancouver and various, I know in Winnipeg we have various different systems in place for booking a reservation at different airports for this type of activity. We're looking to do the same thing again in those constrained airspaces. Really the purpose is it provides some transparency. It lets you see what its available capacity is, better planning, that sort of thing. But it also allows us to safely and effectively manage the flow of traffic within the given resources. With that said, it's not a one size fits all. My job really has been working across the country with a number of our internal and external stakeholders to look at the airspaces, the airports, and looking at, I'll say, a toolkit of things that we can apply to help us safely manage the traffic, but understanding that it's unique on a per site and every piece of airspace. So, it's just finding recognizing that we have some serious safety concerns around this, and being able to respond to that huge bow wave of general aviation. So I hope that answers the question effectively there.
Certainly does for me. I appreciate that, and thanks again, David, for your question, and Chris, thank you for circling back to it. I did want to mention that for both the presentations that we've seen up until now, we've had some great questions from our membership, and I do want to reiterate that we will answer all of them. I just wanted to bring, and again, this is one that will be for Lisa and Janelle, about the electronic publications. Thanks again, Chris, for popping in. Scott Robinson did raise a good point about those who do rely on the print and who will have to print their own copies. Should we go to complete paperless environment for the CFS? What happens, in case of an emergency that was not planned? Obviously, most emergencies are unplanned. They didn't print a copy of the information that was required, and they obviously don't have a tablet in the cockpit with them, and obviously can't have access a printer or their home computer. Has any thought been given to that?
Hi, Christina, it's Janelle. I can answer that question. Yes, there has. So whenever we make any change like this at NAV Canada, we look at all the hazards and do a risk analysis. And that is one of the things that came up. So in a situation like this, that is probably, quite not likely to happen, but if it did, there's always the air traffic controllers that will be able to assist the pilot.
Okay.
So they could
Perfect.
Provide the aeronautical information that was required and help guide them.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I guess I think now we're going to move on to CFPS. Thank you again very much, Lisa and Janelle, for your wonderful presentation. And we'll make sure that we get to most of the questions after the webinar. So we're going to go now to Peter, who's going to share his presentation on CFPS, which is another very important topic, and it's part of flight planning as much as the electronic CFS would be. Welcome to the stage, Peter.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been 21 years in NAV Canada, most of it working as a flight service specialist, either in an FSS or an FIC in Southern Ontario and Northwest Territories. So I've spoken to and met members of COPA multiple times, and it's a pleasure to speak. So thank you very much. Let's just have a look at the slideshow. Hopefully this will punch up without too many issues. Just bear with me here. I can't tell. Can we see that? Oh, that looks better. Okay, on we go. So I'm here to talk to you again about CFPS, which is the Collaborative Flight Planning System. Release 13.1 just means it's the most recent release that's currently on the system. We are generally releasing new systems or new versions once or twice a year with enhancements to make it better. So for the moment, anyway, release 13.1 is the one that you folks would be dealing with. Seem to be having a technological issue here. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that, folks. Let's see if the screen share is a little more effective. All right, my apologies for that. So just going to have a quick look at CFPS through the slideshow here. There we go. So what is it? It's the Collaborative Flight Planning System. Now I'm back to the slideshow again. Sharon, are you on?
I can confirm that Sharon is on, but right now she is in the back room, so she can't hear you.
Okay, just seem to be having. All right, no, let's see if we can get this. Okay, we seem to be rolling now. Sorry about that again. Delays. All right, so it is the Collaborative Flight Planning System. Basically, its function is to provide for the general public, for COPA. Its general purpose is to provide weather, NOTAM, and flight planning. We are continuing to enhance the system and hope to be able to provide other features as time goes by, but for the moment, that is what's provided. I also wanted to, before we go on, just share that the CFPS is also used extensively by internal users, so NAV Canada personnel, for similar things, weather and NOTAM, also for flight planning information, as well as some other activities. So basically, it is an outward-looking system for COPA and the general public to access, but also it is an inward-looking system for NAV Canada personnel. So sometimes some of the quirks and limitations that you folks might perceive are just because it is attempting to address both sides of that coin. So for the moment, I'm going to focus on weather and NOTAM. That is a tab on the CFPS page, which we'll get to in just a moment, because that's what most COPA members are interested in looking at. So you start off with a welcome screen. To get there, you go to plan.navcanada.ca. You can do so from basically any electronic device with access to the internet. You will find, however, that performance varies, especially as your screen gets smaller. Plan.navcanada.ca. You can do so from basically any device with access to the internet. There we go. That seems better. Okay, so you can go to plan.navcanada.ca, as I said. As I was saying, any electronic device can access the internet, can access this. You will find performance differences, especially if your device is smaller. CFPS is capable of detecting the screen size. And for those of you who've tried to access using a cell phone or a small screen, you'll realize that some of the functionalities are limited just because it doesn't work well on a very tiny screen. So go to plan.navcanada.ca. And from there, you will see that there are two tabs at the top of the screen, one of which is Weather and NOTAM. There is no login required for this. You can go right to that screen. Later on, I'm going to mention some of the features that come from being able to log in, and will encourage you to get a user ID and password. But to access Weather and NOTAM, no login is required. Before we leave, though, let's have a look at some of the other features that are on the title page. Some notices and news from NAV Canada are included here with blue hyperlinks. So I recommend that before you go on to look at your Weather and NOTAM, just give a quick scan to see if there's any news or information. Upcoming CFPS releases are mentioned, as well as other news that we feel would be of interest to you. Also, at the bottom of the screen, you will see some links to some useful other parts of the internet. Some of them are NAV Canada areas, others are Government of Canada, like the Sunrise Sunset, for example. So again, have a look at the screen, have a look at the links at the bottom, have a look at the news and notices. See if there's anything of interest that you'd like to have a look at before you go on to look at Weather and NOTAM. So once you get to the Weather and NOTAM page, it's time to build your query. And this is the page that you will see. And it's roughly divided into 3 sections down the left-hand side where you will be inputting your request. The first section involves search parameters. That would be the airports, for example. You can also input a latitude or longitude, as well as some intersections and nav aids if you know them. And then you start to specify the alphanumeric products that you want. That's just text that will appear on this screen here. And below that, there is some graphical or imagery products. So you can get some pictures to appear as well. Satellite, some weather charts, radar, that sort of product is available as well as graphical area forecasts. So bear in mind, when you're starting to navigate through this section, the site input field, you can input the same site repeatedly if you want to. This is useful if you're doing a round-robin flight. So in my day when I worked in London, people would fly from Brampton up to Muskoka, over to Peterborough, back to Brampton. You could input all of those in the order of your flight, and then the same information would appear, like for the repeated airport. Every time you ask for it, it'll show that same information again. There's also a route radius button. So if you're flying along a route, a flight, you can indicate how wide of an area on either side you're interested in. This will start to become relevant when we dive into NOTAM and start to discuss those specifically, which is going to be happening in just a moment or two. Once you're done selecting all of the products you wish to view, text as well as graphic, you hit the search button and what you want will appear on the screen. Before we go on, we're going to start to address NOTAMs more or less specifically. Some of the features that we're talking about going forward will address other products as well, but a lot of it is designed to address NOTAM and NOTAM information congestion. So if we go back to the old days, and by old I mean before 2020 and the introduction of ICAO NOTAM, a pilot taking a flight and asking for NOTAM would ask for that information by NOTAM file. So the secret was to understand or know the NOTAM files that lay along your route of flight. So in the case of the example I have on the graphic in front of me, a pilot decided to fly from Montreal, Pierre-Elliott-Trudeau, up to Quebec, would cross the following NOTAM file areas. So they would ask for Montreal, Pierre-Elliott-Trudeau, as well as Mirabel, Saint-Hubert, Sherbrooke, because you'd be crossing over a bit of that section as well, Quebec City, and if you're a careful pilot, you would also ask for the FIR, that's ZUL, as well as CYHQ, which was headquarters NOTAMs or NOTAMs of a national import. For many months and years long ago, there wasn't a lot of information in the CYHQ file, and you could additionally find that folder empty. After 9/11, the government started to populate it more heavily, both with restrictions and rules, and of course with the onset of COVID and other bits of information, this type of NOTAM has become more important. Were this NOTAM filing system in effect today, I suspect the CYHQ folder would be quite dense. So that's how things used to be. You had to know your NOTAM files, and when you asked for it, it would appear for you by file. With ICAO NOTAM, we now use, or I should say the world is using, ICAO NOTAMs, which are based on georeferencing. Every NOTAM is given a geographic coordinate of a center and another number which determines what's called an area of influence or radius around the NOTAM. So basically, it's kind of a reflection of how important this NOTAM is. So something minor, like a tower light outage perhaps, might be relatively tiny. Something larger involving, I don't know, electromagnetic interference, explosions, artillery ranges, whatever, might be a little larger. And unfortunately, some of the NOTAMs are FIR or national NOTAMs, which cover very large areas indeed. So when you specify your flight, in this case, a route of flight following the same path from Montreal to Quebec, basically, once you specify the radius, you kind of have what I like to call a sausage. So there is the route of flight and a radius around it. Any NOTAM whose area of influence or special radius crosses into that zone will be shown to you when you access CFPS. So in the case of this flight, you're getting all of these NOTAMs, but what you are not getting are the ones that in the olden days would have been in the NOTAM files, but do not cross your route of flight and specified radius of interest. Some of the problems people have been having, though, is FIR and national NOTAMs. I will mention the infamous 737 MAX NOTAM, as well as those involving Syrian airspace and Iranian rockets. They're considered of a national import, so they cover the entire country, border to border to border. So any flight anywhere asking for a NOTAM will see these NOTAM. That's a determination made, I presume, by Transport Canada, that these NOTAMs are sufficiently important that they need to be shown in this way, and the system very faithfully reproduces them. So just bear in mind that when you're asking for a route of flight and a radius, that's basically how the system decides what it's going to show you. So I talked about multiple entry already. You can also input coordinates. You can use it latitude and longitude. So basically number north, 3 number west, and you can do coordinates that way, and it'll do the same thing as if you had put in an airport identifier. You can also select your language, English, French, or both. English and French is the default. Please bear in mind that this is a feature that only works for bilingual NOTAM. If the NOTAM is not in bilingual airspace, it is an English language only NOTAM, unfortunately, and we cannot turn it into French. So this function will not do anything. But should you be flying through bilingual airspace and wish to suppress one of the 2 languages in a bilingual NOTAM, it will do so. So if you ask for English only, you will only see English NOTAM. If you ask for French, you will see only French language NOTAM in the bilingual airspace. Should you head over into unilingual airspace, unfortunately, you will be viewing English language NOTAM. You can also filter the winds for upper and lower levels. Basically, anything above flight level 180 is considered high. Anything else is considered low. You can also suppress duplicates. More of an interest to somebody flying a longer distance or who's crossing NOTAM regions. NOTAMs are divided into 3 large regions, East, West, and Central. So if you cross the region, the national NOTAMs, those 737 MAX NOTAMs and Syrian airspace NOTAMs, the COVID NOTAMs, those are all repeated 3 times, once for each NOTAM region of the country. So for example, a pilot flying from Toronto to Winnipeg gets to view those NOTAM twice. So if you suppress the duplicate, CFPS will look for the same NOTAM, and if it sees the same number coming up twice, it will try and block it for you. This is not always perfect. So sometimes, and our apologies, you will unfortunately get the same NOTAMs repeating. Bear in mind too that if you ask for a round robin flight and try and suppress the duplicates, you will get the duplicates suppressed, so you will not be able to see your round robin NOTAMs. So just sometimes if you ask for conflicting things, CFPS does its best to try and figure out what it is you're looking for, sometimes unfortunately with mixed results. Bear in mind as well, it's also on the slide here, pointing to this displaying thing. It says displaying, in this case, 80 out of 87 results. Once you start asking to filter NOTAM, it will tell you how many should be there and how many you're actually seeing. So in this case, by saying no duplicates, please, you're only seeing 80 of the 87 results, which means in this particular example, 7 of the NOTAM were in fact duplicates, and you don't have to look at those twice. Also, just as a quick notice, these selections are persistent. So if you're in the middle of doing this and you hop off to look at another section of the website and you come back, what you've done on this page should still be there. It's cookie based. So if you clear your browser of all your history, that will be cleared as well. Once you've input everything and you hit the big old search button, up will come your results. Now, it is still possible to do some more filtering. This can be done on any text-based information. It will not pick up captions on maps and that kind of thing, but any text-based information can be filtered this way. So once you've done your search and your information comes up, you can do a little bit more. You will notice there is a little circle with a line through it and a magnifying glass. If you type information into this field here or this one here, and you click on the magnifying glass, it will only show you a bulletin that happens to contain that string. So if you had you were looking for one specific NOTAM involving one exact tiny little airport or some weird little thing that there's a specific phrase or a sentence or word, start typing it in here and it will filter out the NOTAM. And if there's just that one NOTAM, you should be able to find it. If it's a common NOTAM like tower obstruction lights or whatever, this search is not great for that. It will let you look at all of them, but if you can't filter it down any tighter than that, it gets a little challenging. The obverse side of that is the negative filtering. If you click on the little circle with a line through it and start typing in text, it will filter out any information in that field. So if you then typed tower, it would block every single NOTAM with the word tower in it. Just bear in mind, if you're doing this because you don't like obstruction lights on towers and you type that in there, it would also filter out any NOTAM saying the air traffic control tower is closed today, or terrorists have taken over the CN tower and you can't fly near there. It will find every single instance of that word and filter out the bulletin. So exercise caution, please. So positive filtering, magnifying glasses, negative filtering, circle with a line through it. There is also one final extra that was added with 13.1, and that's the obstruction crane and light filter, which is this little button to the right. When you click on it, your screen will go black or gray, and you'll still be able to see it sort of. And it will give you the opportunity to filter out obstruction lights and crane NOTAMs specifically. So if you check those boxes, a little number will appear as saying how many of those two things you've opted to filter out. And then the search that you've already performed will be further filtered with those objects or those types of NOTAMs disappearing. So that's it for what I wanted to discuss about the weather and NOTAM screen. Just bear in mind the key takeaways: plan.navcanada.ca, and you can access it without a login ID. You can go on any time from any computer and just have a look. And again, it's constantly evolving, constantly being worked on, and constantly improving. So by all means, come by, have a look at the website, check out the news, the bulletins, and again, use it to help you plan your flight. For those of us who have logged in and have an ID, it also opens up the possibility for flight planning. So I'm just going to very quickly have a look at it. I would suspect almost everybody, if not everybody online, has filed a flight plan at one point or another. Yay, lots of fun. For those of us who've been around a little while and remember the form, everything that's been done to flight planning since is kind of based on that old piece of paper. The template, how it looks on the screen, it's all kind of touching on what that form looks like. So when you go to the Flight Plans tab, which appears if you've logged in with your user ID, you'll also see a Flight Templates tab. We'll get to that in a moment. It is then possible for you to file a flight plan. When you click the flight plan filing, it just goes through mostly the fields that you've all seen before on the form. The aircraft ID, flight rules, type of flight, number of aircraft, and so on, all the way down the page. Also, CFPS does provide a little bit of a help field. So when you're in a field, it will give you the options as to what it is you want to pick, IFR, VFR, and so on, as well as some suggestions at the bottom in the help field if you're not sure what to fill out. Also, a nice feature that I always like, because I, as a briefer, I dealt with a fair number of different aircraft. When I went to the aircraft type, it would give me options as to, if I started typing in C17, it would start pulling up various aircraft that had that coding. So it helped me, because I was dealing with a fair number of different types, figure out very quickly what aircraft type I was putting in the box. So again, it's a useful feature. It's a great way to file a flight plan. I know for many of you using third-party apps, you can do it on there as well. So again, this is a useful complement. It's always available, and it ties directly into the NAV Canada systems. So by all means, please use it. An extra little feature offered as well is flight templates. This is basically what it sounds like. You can create a flight template which has as much basic data that you want to save. So if you're always flying in Foxtrot Alpha Bravo Charlie, for example, you can input the basic information for Foxtrot Alpha Bravo Charlie, most of the basic unchanging data, the type, weight turbulence category, and so on, and you can save it. So when you come on the next time, you can file a flight plan from the flight template and not have to re-input all that data again. It's a very convenient tool. And that's all I had to say right now about CFPS. Again, it is constantly changing. We are hoping to have a new release within the next month or two, so there will be some minor changes. Sometimes the changes aren't all that visible to you folks, because it's changes that either address the needs that NAV Canada has for the system on an internal side, or as well dealing with the robustness and performance of the system. We're always trying to make it work a little faster and a little better. And again, thank you very much for listening, and please for the feedback and the comments that you make as well, because that helps drive us to make it better for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter, for this great presentation. I can assure you that the general aviation community certainly appreciates all of the detail that you have just provided to us. I'll start with some of the questions that were sent to us prior to the seminar. The first one being, why is CFPS replacing AWWS, and when will AWWS be decommissioned?
Okay, for that one, I'm going to pass it over to Matt Mahoney. He's a little more dialed into that side of it. Matt, are you on?
Yeah, so I'd like to welcome to the stage Matt Mahoney. Matt, if you just wanted to tell us a little bit about your position at NAV Canada, and then you can go ahead and answer the question.
Okay, hopefully everybody can see me and hear me. Thank you very much, Christine, for the opportunity, and I appreciate everybody listening in. My position at NAV Canada is the National Manager for Product Requirements and Integration. I've been with NAV Canada for approximately 20 years, several locations. I started in operations with flight service specialists, and moved about the country, 5 different locations over the 20 years into this position eventually. In regards to the question, just to circle back there, CFPS is replacing the AWWS system due to the age of Oz. The aviation weather system is approximately 26 years old, and the software code within it is applicably as aged, and as such, we're unable to make improvements and changes as we evolve into new introductions of aviation information. And due to those restrictions and restraints, we are transitioning to the new platform, the newer platform of CFPS. The timeline for transition, so the Aviation Weather Web Site will be available for approximately another 18 months. Its anticipated decommissioning date is approximately next fall, so the fall of the calendar year 2022. I think I got the questions.
Yep, perfect. Thank you so much. The next one is, will CFPS be mobile and tablet friendly in future editions? If so, is there a planned date for that?
For the moment, CFPS is sort of a little bit tablet friendly in terms of, as I said before, the software will detect screen size and adjust the experience so that it is usable on a wide variety of devices. Again, for the smaller device at the moment, the graphic products aren't available. I don't believe at this time there is any discussion of introducing a tablet format yet. But again, if you folks again keep giving that feedback, we can hopefully get something like that launched. Matt, you haven't heard anything about a tablet format, or sorry, an app or some sort of cell phone version of it yet?
So at this point in time, we're still evaluating and working towards the improvements in the mobile interface. There is currently no plans for an application. We're moving to an application of an app typically. However, we are working towards a more mobile-friendly environment. We don't have a specific timeline for that, but we are certainly working in that direction. And we have, and I hate to pull to mention the COVID situation, but of course, as we're all aware, we've had our challenges with COVID, which has introduced some more challenges amongst this transition. And as such, we are continuing to make sure that the product is highly available and has all certified and usable information upon it. But the transition to the mobile platform has certainly certainly had some delays due to that. So we are moving in that direction, but I don't have a timeline at this time.
Okay, thank you so much. Oh, yeah, I'm still on. Okay, so I'm going to move now to some of the questions that have just recently been asked. So Brian Schalm, software architect here, out of professional curiosity, can you briefly summarize the technology stack used by CFPS? Is that something in your capacity to answer, or no?
I'm afraid I don't. But I would not be able to answer that question. That being said, though, if we can record that question or have it, then we can get somebody who can answer that one for sure.
Okay, absolutely. Yes, we're definitely going to record these questions. Dave McLean, given that we are often accessing up-to-date weather while at the airport or in the aircraft before departure, is there any plan to make this website more compatible? Oh, sorry, we've already answered this question. Well, moving on. Are there any plans for to bring back a better route briefing feature like the old website? This new layout makes it very hard to process the information.
Presume that you're referring to ASAP, which exists on the AWWS site. So it will give you a sort of a software it will interpret your route of flight and give you sort of while you're on the way, winds, pressure, all of that sort of thing. At the moment, CFPS, I don't believe, is planning to introduce any features like that. I believe we're still under discussion with Environment Canada about the ASAP feature because I believe actually that software belongs to them and we're just providing a window to it on AWWS. But it certainly is a useful and fairly popular feature with COPA users.
Okay, thanks for that, Peter. We have a question from Ken Kosick. At various airports, you need to get a transponder code before beginning your flight. If I file my flight plan in CFPS, will I still need to get a transponder code from the flight service station or the FIC, or will CFPS provide the code?
That's actually a great question, and it's a feature we'd love to roll out. Basically, for actually a number of selfish NAV Canada, saving us workload and time as well as making it more convenient for the pilot. So it seems like a win-win all the way around. So that one, I would say, would probably be coming down the road sooner than some of the other features under discussion. But at the moment, it's not there yet. But that's one of the reasons also, in addition to the age of the AWWS code, why we're switching to CFPS. CFPS connects seamlessly with NAV Canada systems, including the ones that connect to air traffic control, as well as to the electronic flight data strip boards in the towers and the FSS. So information flows very smoothly forwards and backwards. So getting something like being able to give a squawk code or perhaps some future date electronic clearances, definitely on the drawing boards and possible. I can't give you a timeline right now, but those are the types of things that excite NAV Canada almost as much as I would imagine COPA members.
Okay, just for my own clarification, so if I file my flight plan through CFPS, that does not generate an electronic flight strip at the tower to which the flight plan starts.
It gives you a strip. Oh, Matt's got his hand up. Go
ahead, Matt. Yeah, because if the strip is there, the code will be there, and when you call up clearance delivery or ground, depending on where you are, they will be able to give you that code. Correct? You're on mute, Matt.
Matt, you are muted.
Sorry. How about now? Am I good?
Yeah.
Apologies. I think I'm flipping back and forth. So just to speak to that a little bit more, I kind of interpreted that question a little bit different, Christine. So the flight plan filing within CFPS does directly link into the NAV Canada air traffic control system. Okay. So it will generate the electronic strip as required in the tower. However, I interpret your question as when there's if there's a requirement to retrieve that code pre the contact to the tower, so say 30 minutes. I know the Lower Mainland has some requirements in some areas to obtain your squawk code prior to contact with the tower. So that, I think that's what Peter kind of alluded to, and we are investigating how to maybe make that process a little bit more automated and a little bit more user-friendly for our pilots and our general aviation community. Okay, so just again, for a little bit more clarification on my part, so I'm filing my flight plan through CFPS, and it's generating an electronic flight strip at one of the either clearance delivery or ground. That will generate a transponder code itself. So why would I need to call half an hour before to get a code that might be different than the one that's being generated from the flight plan? It wouldn't be any different. It would be that code that is on the flight plan. It's just that I believe, and okay. I'm trying to recall, I believe there is an aerodrome in, it might be Vancouver International itself, where you're asked to, it's in the CFS, to retrieve your squawk code prior to contact. And this is the means to do that. Okay. Is what I was speaking. And Peter was involved. Excellent. We're going to move on now to Bill Michael. Will these types of spatial files be available to ForeFlight so that they can be put on their screens as the equivalent to the TFR map indications in the US? I'm presuming it probably has to do with accessing NOTAMs in flight. So the ForeFlight does have a subscription to retrieve the NOTAMs from the NAV Canada service. And they do receive, as Janelle and Lisa spoke to earlier, they do receive information. How they intend to evolve and integrate, I wouldn't be able to speak to, unfortunately.
Yeah, the temporary flight restriction, the rough analogy in Canada would be like a 5.1, there's a forest fire, there's a airspace closure for some special reason, so section 5.1. So yeah, the information is shared with ForeFlight and third-party providers, and how they choose to depict that or show it to you is, again, that would be up to the provider. Like I know when I go on some third-party providers to look at the American NOTAMs, they give you a little red ring or like some very clear marking that there is such a thing there. So yeah, it would be up to the third-party provider how they wish to, but the information is being shared. Okay, would it be fair to say that the information that you would be getting from your third-party provider, say ForeFlight or Garmin, is as accurate as the information that is being put out by NAV Canada and as timely? Or would you say that you should check NOTAMs on CFPS prior to departing any flight? I would sort of say that we're the closest to the NOTAM spout, as it were. We create the NOTAMs, we disseminate the NOTAM, and we don't create them. That's the party who's affected, but we do disseminate the NOTAM nationwide. So we are, I would argue, the closest source. Whether a third-party provider is getting all of the NOTAMs in as timely a fashion, that would come down to their software and how it's depicted and used. So I couldn't really answer to that. My other concern, though, is also in how the third-party providers choose to organize and filter. As you've seen, CFPS itself offers some filter features. Other sites do the same thing in various different ways. There's a lot of imaginative methods of doing so. When you choose to filter something, you're assuming a little bit of risk that important information might get missed. One example, I believe, from reality not that long ago was a third-party provider. If you weren't checking one of the tabs, you missed the fact that the airspace was closed due to an air show. So if you're in the habit of filtering and not looking at certain things, you may miss them. I do know that the CFPS system has all of the NOTAMs available. We clearly force you to select a filter, and we clearly force you to know how many NOTAMs you're not seeing when you make that choice. So I have total trust in CFPS showing you all of the existing NOTAMs. Unfortunately, I can't speak as to whether the other third-party providers are also doing so. I know they're trying to do so, and they're very interested in pilot safety, as are we, but I can't speak as to how quickly or how accurately they're doing so.
Okay, thanks, Peter. I have a question here from, where was I here? Ken Kosick. These are great tips for using CFPS. I do not see a help button. Is it possible to have these PowerPoint slides shared or better available on the CFPS sites? So these PowerPoint will be available on the COPA website. So and you will be able to review all of the presentation as well as all of the questions that have been answered today. So I guess I could answer that one. Leo Berman, we used to be able to check which NOTAM we wanted to print. Is this something that we can do now with CFPS?
Some of that comes down to your device. I mean, you can't, not using CFPS itself, no. Unfortunately, we do not have a select and print function. I am aware that AWWS did or does, because it's still an active website, does provide that functionality. It is something that is being looked at for CFPS. Unfortunately, with, again, I hate to draw up the universal excuse, but with COVID and everything else and other priorities, it's kind of slid a little. But we are looking at that, but for the moment you can't. So you end up having to use, again, third-party software to take screenshots or find other ways to print it. Again, it depends on your device, but unfortunately CFPS does not explicitly provide that feature right now, but it is something that is also under discussion and consideration.
Yeah,
okay.
Essentially today, sorry, just to tag onto that, today the use of CFPS is the browser printer, for lack of a better term. So when you just click print the screen, is the browser printer usage is what's used.
Okay, thanks. There was a question here. I'm just going to use my own words instead of trying to read what's being said. But for filing a flight plan through CFPS, so what I want to be able to, so does that make your flight plan, does that open your flight plan as well at the time that you planned it? I think the answer is no to that. You still have to open your flight plan with a FSS or a tower. That's just the filing of it, like you would file prior. Is there any plans down the line to be able to use CFPS to open your flight plans and to close your flight plans?
Good questions. I'll address the first part of that. Basically, when you're using CFPS to file a flight plan, it's the same as if you call the FIC to do so. So it goes into the NAV Canada system. If you're taking off from a site that has air traffic services, flight service station or a tower, they will open your flight plan when you depart. If you take off from somewhere else, you're flying from Aylen Lake to wherever, we will open your flight plan at your planned time of departure. So if we do not have air traffic services there, we will activate you, whether or not you call us to do so. This is important because if you decide to cancel it, you'd rather have a beer, go back to sleep, whatever the case might is, you need to tell us because we're going to activate your flight. And when it comes overdue, we're going to be looking for you. So the rules don't change. Think of CFPS as a interactive version of the FIC. You're filing it just as you would if you're speaking to one of us, and it goes to the same places as if you were speaking to one of us and following the same rules as if you were speaking to one of us. And the second part of that question, could you repeat that again for me?
Was there any plans to ever make CFPS compatible with closing your flight plan?
We would love to. For the moment, it's not planned out. We are using we're planning to use CFPS for a greater role of our flight planning responsibilities. Currently, there are other older systems that NAV Canada is using internally for flight planning. So CFPS will be taking a bigger and bigger part of that. And at that point, we would be able to look at absolutely providing that functionality, just because it's so much more convenient if you have an electronic device and you can just tap closed and have it taken care of for you. So not at the moment, but hopefully coming.
Okay, perfect. And I'm going to ask this last question. There's still so many more questions that are being asked. And again, I'll reiterate, keep them coming. After the webinar, you can certainly send us your questions at COPA@copanational.org. We'll take a note of them, and we will definitely provide, we're probably going to lump them all together to make sure that, you know, we don't, most of them are worded differently, but they require the same answer. And we'll make them available on our website as well as the recording of this webinar. So the last question I have is, oh, I lost it here. Just give me a second. Private, can you get, oh yes, so this one was, so when you use the template for a flight plan, can you use it for multiple aircraft? So I'm presuming that the question has to do with, can you have more than one template?
Oh yes, you can, as many as you want. You could also have the same aircraft. You have your flight from, let's say, Toronto-Buttonville to Muskoka. You could also have one Toronto-Buttonville to North Bay, Peterborough to Ottawa. You can have as many templates as you want in the system. So,
okay, so your account isn't just linked to one particular aircraft?
No, it's not. It's a user ID, and it's linked to you yourself as an individual pilot.
Okay. I think that I'm being mindful of the time. We are 25 minutes over the time that we had allocated for this webinar. So I just like to thanks again to Heather, to Lisa, to Janelle, to you, Peter, and Matt. Nice to see you again, Matt. And also Chris Stevens, who's probably still behind the scenes. I want to thank you so much for having spent this time with us. Very important information. And thank you for always communicating with COPA and for asking us for any of our concerns. And I do want to talk to the pilots that are on this call, or the ones who will be listening to the call, you know, once it's posted on our website, to please share any of your comments or any of your feedbacks to COPA at copanational.org. Would there be one particular email at NAV Canada where they could submit their questions directly to NAV Canada, or would they be separate emails for, you know, if they wanted to talk directly about something about the electronic flight supplement or CFPS, or if they had any concerns with, you know, restrictions, airspace restrictions? Would it be one email, or would it be separate emails?
Lisa or Janelle, do you have any thoughts on that?
Hi, it's Janelle. Anything can be sent into the customer contact center, which is service@navcanada.ca, and then it will be distributed from there.
Okay, and I would add to that to make sure that you specify in the subject matter, you know, what it is what type of information that you're looking for, so it can be directed to the appropriate department within NAV Canada. So again, thank you so much to Heather, to Lisa, to Janelle, Peter, Matt, and Steve for having taken part of your Saturday to share this really important information with our membership. We are listening. We care about your feedback, so keep it coming. We're going to end the webinar right now. I'm just going to send Matt out and have Sharon come back for her final words as well. I want to, she's been behind the scenes, even though you haven't seen her face on camera. She's been troubleshooting at the back very well. And I just want to say a special thanks to Sharon for really having coordinated this whole effort and for putting it all together and for all of the hard work that she put in to ensure that we could host this presentation for all of you. I'm just going to wait a few minutes to see if she comes back, so that she can thank everybody herself. And there she is.
Yeah, I heard parts of what you had said there, so echo everything that you were saying. This group is pretty familiar with me over the last few months, so it was a pleasure to spend more time behind the scenes. And thank you all for being here with us today. I did share 2 upcoming events that we have, one on the Remotely Piloted Aircraft Systems Seminar that we're hosting May 15th. It is an upcoming Saturday, same time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. It's a good chance if you're curious about transitioning over from manned to unmanned aircraft, or maybe you are simply curious about what is expected of the drone pilot community. We'll be going over the new regulations with Transport Canada. We'll also have our colleagues at NAV Canada, again, not the same folks here. We'll have another speaker who will share some updates on the new app that they're releasing. This will help drone pilots fly more safely in Canadian airspace. And outside of that, I think some of you or I'm sure some of you are definitely, you fly float planes, or you're curious about it. So we do have a seminar on that as well. The speakers are Brian Douglas, Brian Webster, as well as John Porter. They'll be going over some key considerations for float flying from a seasonal perspective, as well as considerations of water egress as it relates to the pandemic. So very, very interesting events coming up. Again, thank you all for being here today. Appreciate your time. I think it's a good moment to now release you onto your weekends. All right, happy flying. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Happy flying.